you have thousands of transactions and alerting that goes on, where the traditional monitoring is very difficult to achieve. So we have bots that can actually look at and then alert. So again, enabling and empowering our employees to do their job much better. So as a financial services organization, risk and compliance is a big part of our culture. The changing laws and then the customer necessities, data privacy rules, all of them are going to put some demand in terms of how do we actually engage and what are the best ways that we can meet our customer expectations. As an example, right, from a transformation standpoint, we certainly leverage technology and data to enable personalized interactions where possible, where it makes sense. We also look at ensuring that there is seamless communications with our customers. We also look to enable both the front-facing customer agents as well as the back office agents who are tirelessly processing customer requests. So all of that, and then last but not the least, automation, I say, is not happening in silos, right? We work pretty closely with our overall technology strategy. We actually ensure that we are in alignment when we are building certain things. All of that is driving towards the positive customer experience, and keeping customer first is always the core thing and what we value. So use cases and where we partner with UiPath, we use UiPath quite extensively in robotic process automations. Certainly with additional capabilities coming into the product, we are looking at right fit use cases where we can take advantage of the capabilities. I'll share some examples, right? Of course, when we're driving customer experience in contact centers, call reduction, the average time it takes to calls, reducing the time for the average handle times rather for calls is very important. So we do quite a bit of automations in doing that and ensuring that customers are serviced, faster and in a more accurate way. Secondly, we also have in our claims processing, we certainly use UiPath quite extensively to help our claims processing, speed up. Again, productivity and taking away the mundane tasks that our employees do, repetitive, tasks where we could employ UiPath bots to kind of do the same things, and I'll share a couple of examples. And then the time it spends for the team to do the same over and over again, like the same tasks, right? A couple of examples I can share is, one we have in contact centers where we have typically an agent would come in. It takes about 6 to 7 minutes for an agent to go set up their machines in order for them to be able to receive calls, right? So we employed bots that could actually, and then what they do, setting up their workspace, applications that they need in order to service the customers. So we have bots that can actually start up their workspaces, right, by a click of a button, right, without really going through the hassle, right? And then that gives not only the time to the customer service agents for them, not to do the same repeated tasks, but also it's a kind of a time that can actually be put forward for doing something productive, right? So that's an example. The second thing we also do is a lot of things in the monitoring. We also have UiPath, do in some specialized monitoring scenarios where you have thousands of transactions and alerting that goes on, where the traditional monitoring is very difficult to achieve. So we have bots that can actually look at and then alert. So again, enabling and empowering our employees to do their job much better. There are two ways to go about when you talk about discovering, right? So one is there is a top-down approach, and then there is a bottom-up approach. Both can validate each other. So the top-down approach typically goes with looking at a specific area, looking at the processes, ensuring that we understand what are all the processes. Think of, as an example, we have become a customer. We have defined our customer journeys, right? Become a customer is a journey. Managing the customer's relationship is a journey. And when you look at those processes, you could actually, it's a very interview-based with subject matter experts, with people who are day in, day out servicing, right? And then it's a very workshop-oriented scenarios where we identify where are the pain points. And then we can take that into a much deeper level of inspection around whether that process, what are the pain points in the process. So that is a top-down approach, right? And then we can come up with. The bottom-up approach is more of a data science approach, meaning using abilities with process mining, looking at our systems, the events that comes into the system, and then translating that back into for a business users, a visualized way of showing them the process and where the pain points are. Now, both have their ups and downs in terms of, because process mining does take time, and it may not be a scenario that you want to go in each and every case, but it can be a very powerful and effective way when you are going in a high ROI based scenarios, high big complex automations, to validate what you are kind of your voice of the customer, which is the internal customer, is to what is the reality and where should you put your efforts. There are several automations we have in the contact center space. We have automations where a customer would request for a due date adjustments in their payments, right? So we have, and then these requests could come in any different ways, right? Customer could walk into a branch and then make a request. Customer could call and make a request, right? So we have built UiPath automations where the requests are being dispatched to a robot, basically being entered into, and then a robot collects that, and then he's updating the backend systems. In some cases, the request can come in like, I have a due date tomorrow, can you make it? And if we don't handle, and again, every single scenario, we are constantly looking at how we can modernize our existing core systems. It is not to say sometimes the solutions we are implementing are very tactical, right? So that's one scenario. The other example I can share is we have compliance rules around call recordings, right? We have millions of calls in a given day that gets in, and then we are regulated by a certain percentage of the calls to be getting recorded. We have bots that are actually able to verify whether the call is getting recorded or not, right? And then if there is a scenario where the particular area of the recorder device is not functioning, or they see that anomaly, they are able to send alerts to. So contact centers, we have done quite a few. Those are the two examples that come to top of mind. See, I think customer first is our strategy, right? We kind of think about it. Delivering value to the customer is of the focus. And it's focus on delivering value in a secure way, in a most reliable way, and then in the fastest way that we can, right? So that's kind of how we actually look at. And beyond that, so of course, data, leveraging the data, and ensuring that we have a good data strategy, we have a good data management practices. We are able to leverage the advanced automation capabilities that we can. Digitization and more automation is actually how we want to approach. And most importantly, I call it as a responsible way how we actually approach that area. So definitely very excited. At the same time, want to be very cautious.